Welcome to the New Mom Talk podcast, your go-to podcast for evidence-based answers to your burning questions about parenting. Join us as we dive into commonly Googled topics and hear from experts and real moms. Let's navigate parenthood together, one question at a time. Hi guys! Today we're going to talk about habit shifts and systems for a less stressful home with Blair Mohr. I'm so excited because I feel like organization is a big part of just a home in general. So we're going to pick your brain. Blair, if you can start off with telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super happy to be here. I love to talk about all things organization, especially for moms and families. So my name is Blair Mohr, and I own a professional organizing company called the Organized Mommy Co. I have two boys. I have an almost 8-year-old Charlie and an almost 6-year-old Graham. And we live in Capistrano Beach in South Orange County, California, with my husband, Alex, and two gigantic dogs. And so, as you can imagine, there's a lot of chaos in my house at all times. And so that really encourages me to keep things simple and efficient. What my team and I love doing is we work mainly with young families. We will work with anybody, but that is definitely the bulk of our clientele. And we work on creating better systems. We help them minimize and eliminate clutter and piles and come up with a more efficient way to run their house so it feels peaceful and so they are less stressed in their home. Our goal is always for them to love their home again, love being at home, and that their home doesn't stress them out.
I love watching your videos of like the before and after. There's something about
Yeah, it's very cathartic. I think that's part of what I love about the job is the transformation in real life. You know, it really can make a really big impact for our clients. I have a background, my background is as a teacher for 15 years. And so this was a big shift, but I still do a lot of sort of teaching and habit shift teaching with my clients. And some, you can get like a lot out of making those changes and not just the pretty afters, but also like how to keep it that way and how to kind of reap the benefits long term.
I can relate to you. We have two big dogs and I was a teacher, so I love like the systems and having an order.
Yes, same.
So
Type A.
with that, what are the most common ways disorganization shows up in a family home?
Yeah, so that is, I think it's number one is too much stuff. So we live in this era of you can buy something instantly. You can get something delivered to your house in a matter of hours. Even online, like grocery pickup can also sometimes lead to too much stuff. There's just the way that our system works today, our culture, there's too much stuff coming into the house for how much space we have. And it's just a lot to manage. And I think once people have kids, like what I noticed with myself is when I had my first baby, I would be up in the middle of the night feeding him and I'd be scrolling Instagram. And someone would say, if you buy this thing, it will help your baby sleep longer or it'll help your toddler play independently and therefore you will get more free time. And so you just hit buy. And so everyone ends up with way too much stuff in their house without a system, without thinking about where is this going to live? What am I going to do with it? So that is, I think, the biggest problem and why so many of my clients will say, I was organized before I had kids and now we're just like drowning in doom piles everywhere. Super common. I dealt with it myself and really had to learn how to get that under control. There's also often not any systems in place, like where do the backpacks go when someone gets home from school? What happens when you do get an Amazon delivery? Like, have you thought about where those things go, where they live? Do things have a home or are they just getting shoved into corners? Does incoming paperwork have a place to live? So a lot of it is systems. And then I also see a really big problem. Here in South Orange County, there are a lot of smaller homes. I live in a beach community. A lot of us near the beach, our homes are kind of on the smaller side compared to like Texas or wherever. And there's a lot of bulk buying. We all love Costco. My husband's obsessed with Costco. I get it. But the bulk buying just doesn't work for a lot of people's homes. And so then again, they just end up with too much stuff in a space that can't hold it. And there just needs to be systems. And there also needs to be a lot more thought, I think, into our purchases before we make them.
You are so right. One, that our homes are much smaller. And two,
Mhm.
we are in this world of where we just buy, buy, buy. Like you're wanting to buy everything for your kids because we are just bombarded with get this, do this. And you also want your kids to have everything. So
Mhm. It's yeah.
I feel you on that. And I've always been big on I don't like my living room to be a playroom. Like I like my
Mhm.
kids to have a tiny little area.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I'm a big fan of if you do keep toys in the living room, which most people do these days, that we find a way to hide it more. So using like a media center, a way that it can all get put away at the end of the day. I no longer keep toys in my living room now that my boys are a little bit older. I did used to, but again, it was in a system that could kind of be the cabinets could be shut, toys could be put away, and we always would go to bed with that not out everywhere.
well, with all of that said, what are the foundational systems every household should have in place? And where are the best places to start when everything just feels so overwhelming?
The number one thing with toys especially is that most of us just have too many. So I know I'm going to like say this over and over again, too much stuff, but the reality is there's all these studies that have been done at multiple universities. One of the most well-known studies is through UCLA that kids do not do better with more toys. They do better with fewer toys. They're going to play independently with like a toddler only needs like 6 toys available to them at any given time. So I'm with toddlers and babies, I'm a big fan of toy rotation, and it doesn't have to be a big fancy system. We do set this up for clients a lot, but just having a place where if you do have a lot of toys, they go away in a cabinet, in bins. And if you like to have your toddler in the living room when you're cooking dinner or whatever, you keep a couple toys, 6 toys available to them or less, but everything else is up and you rotate it. So I know that that seems like a daunting system, but if you try it, it will change the way that your kids play because they are so much happier. I mean, even today with older kids, they barely use any toys at all. They only play with building toys and then sticks and rocks and boxes, and they use their imagination and they just don't need more things. Like it's just going to affect their attention. Another thing that I always recommend with families is to have an efficient entry. So we look at how clients walk into their house every day. What's the drop zone? Because there tends to be just piles everywhere. And so an efficient entry should have hooks for purses, diaper bags, backpacks, whether that's a mudroom or just hooks on the wall. Mine is just hooks on the wall. It should have a place for shoes so you don't just get rows and rows of shoes, like a basket. It should have an outbox of some sort because in today's buy instantly world, everyone always has an Amazon return or something else to return. So some type of basket or area to corral, I need to return this. I need to give my mom back her baking pan I borrowed or my neighbor back, his hedge clippers or whatever it is. Like some way for this is how things leave. I like to just have a basket by the door and then just put it in my car when it's time to go do those errands. I also think it's really important for a command center to be set up. So somewhere where there's a family calendar, there's baskets or trays for incoming paperwork. My favorite labels to use are to file. So that's like a bill you paid, but you're not ready to toss it. An action item or to do tray or basket. Like these are paperwork items that I need to take care of this week, like sign this permission slip, pay this bill. And then I keep another basket that's my husband's things. And then I also have an incoming spot for when my kids come home from school, their paperwork or any type of artwork that they want to keep in the meantime. So what I notice in clients' homes is they just have piles and piles of just random miscellaneous. And so if you have a place where it goes, you're more likely to put it there. Recycled mail shouldn't even enter the house. Like when you go to your mailbox, go through it, put the junk mail immediately in the recycled trash bag. Things like that. That system really helps. I'm also a huge fan of the 10 or 15-minute nightly reset. So this has always, the way it's looked in my house is my husband does bath time every night and I do a sweep of the house. So I'm looking like what has not been picked up, what needs to get put in its home, are there clothes in the dryer that needs to get put away, something like that. Just basically to get the house reset back to its like factory settings so that when we wake up in the morning, things are ready to go. Maybe making lunches is sometimes part of that as well. And then one last system that's really helpful for families to have is a donate bin. So if you can have a bin in your garage, or I keep one in my closet for clothes as I'm done with them to sort of help get things leaving your house as you realize you no longer need it or it no longer serves you. You put those items in there, and when it's full, you take it to Goodwill. So, all of those are systems that can be really helpful to kind of keep things less stressful and to keep the doom piles from growing.
I love that you use factory setting. That's just such a great way to think of how your home should look right before you go to bed. And you gave
Yes.
so many great ideas. I feel like you've already given some ideas for my next question. What's a
Hmm.
way to start building some habits that can actually stick? Because I feel like we're always overwhelmed with do
Hmm.
this, do that. So, what are like some
Yeah.
really easy ones that you can start with today that really work? Hi, everyone. It's your host, Mariella. I want to thank you for listening and share some ways to show your continued support. You can rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Share the show with friends and family. Buy me a coffee to help with the financial costs of running a podcast. Follow me on Instagram at newmomtalk.podcast. And finally, subscribe to my newsletter. Thank you for listening.
Yes. So as with any habit is you have to commit to it, and you have to want to do it, right? And so sometimes it's hard to get our family members or our spouses on board. You have to commit to want to make that change. And so even if you're having a hard time sticking to a habit like a 15-minute nightly reset, some mantras that I practice with my clients is, and I have not made these up. These are, lots of people say these things, but don't put it down, put it away is a huge one. So instead of when you walk in the door, instead of putting your purse on like the table, you hang it on the hook. If you are going upstairs, if you have a 2-story and you're holding something in your hand, instead of leaving it on the stairs, you take something up with you. So everything that you touch, you don't put your mug in the sink, you put it in the dishwasher, right? Like, because you're actually causing more energy later. So if you're putting something down, yeah, it's saving you a couple seconds in the interim, but later you're going to have to come back and deal with it. So don't put it down, put it away. Another way to think of that is to touch it only once. So touch things only once, right? When you unpack your groceries, immediately put them away. And so that, if you work on that mantra in your head, don't put it down, put it away, that can really help actually prevent clutter piles from starting in the first place. And that obviously gets easier once everything has a home. So if everything in your house has a home, the don't put it down, put it away just becomes a lot easier to do. And then if you want to take that even a step further, once everything has a home, if it has a label, it actually makes the habit easier because labels give your brain a break. I know it seems silly. You probably have lots of areas in your house where you know where things go, but the actual like having a label on something like cleaning supplies, your brain is not thinking as much. We have to make so many decisions every day. The decision fatigue gets real. So it can actually help people to continue those new habits. And that's why we tend to label for people.
What are some like small shifts that families can do or that really can come into play for like the family as a whole and that even kids could partake in?
With kids, depending on their age, they can always help out with cleaning up toys. If you put picture labels, which you don't have to have a fancy label maker like we do. You can just, cut up cut up printer paper and tape it on. But if you do like a 10-minute nightly reset or a 15-minute nightly reset, if you're feeling really overwhelmed and you want to get your kids involved, you can put on some fun music and we all do this together. Like it's a fun thing. You can involve your kids in that cleanup. And when you do things like set up an efficient entry, you do need to train household members like your kids. Like it has taken a while and you will have to remind them like, oh, wait, come back, hang up your backpack, come back, put your shoes in the basket. It's definitely, I know it's easy as parents and moms for us sometimes to just like do it for them because we will finish it faster. But kids it's going to take repetition. Even my kids have been, using entry systems for years. And there are still days where I have to be like, come back from playing with your Legos and do this. So whatever you can do to get them involved. If you have ADHD family members, there's a lot of times what I notice is things are too hard for them to help out with organizational systems, you have to make it easier. So, and sometimes just with young kids, it's the same thing. Like if you want them to put their laundry in their laundry basket in their room, sometimes it just needs to not have a lid. The lid is cute, I get it, but it's like an extra step for someone to do that help essentially. If you want someone to put their shoes away when they get home and not leave them by the door, sometimes a complicated cabinet, you have to open the cabinet, take the shoe off, put it on a shelf. It's not always going to work with our ADHD family members. So sometimes just an open basket by the door is a better system for keeping those shoes organized, for keeping that entry a little bit more organized.
And routines end up
Mhm.
really being better for kids, like the predictability, the knowing of where things are. So
And
it
they get
makes
overwhelmed in an overstimulated environment just as much as we do. They just
gonna
show it
say.
differently.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you've kind of mentioned some tools, but what are some other tools, apps, or systems that busy families can use to stay organized? Like one thing I immediately think of is when you said have like a basket or like a donation bin. Like
Mhm.
I use the Buy Nothing group on
Mhm.
Facebook, which is a
It's great.
great way.
Great tool.
Yes, you get rid of things. You don't have to drive
Mhm.
anywhere to donate it. You could leave it on your porch and somebody is going to reuse it.
Yes, I use Buy Nothing all the time. I actually use it for a lot of client items because there's certain things that can still have another life, but Goodwill won't take it. Like empty storage bins, like the garage bins that are still perfectly good. I'll put those on Buy Nothing and people are super excited for those. And then they're not going to the landfill, which is what Goodwill will do with them if you give them to Goodwill. So Buy Nothing's great. I love it. In terms of apps, I have a Skylight calendar, the big one, the Max, and it is been a huge game changer for systems and just staying organized in my family. I have mild ADHD myself, so it's really helpful for me to have task lists, to have my calendar, my work calendar with my personal calendar and my kids' activities all together. It has meal planning. It makes my grocery list easy because the amount of times I go to the grocery store and forget the list that I had handwritten. It has ways to reward your kids for helping out. Like this summer, my big project is getting my kids more involved in chores around the house now that they're older. And so I'm using that as a reward system. I'm attaching, rewards to doing things like helping pick up dog poop and watering the plants and emptying the dishwasher, things like that. And so app wise, I think that that's great. It's on your phone, it's on the screen. So I recommend that for busy families. There are other versions too. That's just the one that I have that I really like. I think that there's never going to be a magic solution, but the easiest thing you can do to stay organized is to have less things. If you have less to take care of, then you have more time to do other things, more time to spend with your kids, more time to do anything else that you want to do. Um, One other system, it's not really an app, but one thing I love to put into children's closets, since we're talking about families, is I really like to have a too big and a too small basket or bin in children's closets. This makes it easy to put anything they've outgrown into the too small. And once it's full, you send it to donation, put it on Buy Nothing, or save it for your next kid if they're the same gender. And then the too big is for anything incoming, like you bought something that's too big, or someone gifted you an outfit that they're going to wear in maybe a few months, or a sibling's hand me downs, something like that. The reason why this is a system that really helps people is because then the closet is not overstuffed with things that you're taking forever to look. What shirt are they going to wear? We're going to a party, and it's like half of them don't fit them that are in there. So it's just kind of anything you can do with these systems to make it so you're making less decisions during the day and things are just running a little bit more efficiently and less chaotic is just helpful.
I also love to use the voice system. I'm not going to say her name, SIRI, because then she's going to pop up. But I'll say,
Yeah.
hey, add this to my Costco list. And so it's nice that
Mhm.
I might be busy.
For sure.
So I can't type it in. And same thing, like I have a grocery list on there. And that
Yeah, that's
has
great.
been so helpful.
Yeah, that's a great tip too, because a lot of times we're like on the floor with our kids and we don't want to be constantly taking out our phones. But the reality is we live on our phones, right? Like everything is organized on our phones. So that's a great way to add that in and keep yourself organized.
Well, do you have any other tips, suggestions, or recommendations? I'm going to have all of your info linked in the show notes. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, get in touch with you, they can find your info on there.
Yeah. So I guess the last tip is just to, when we're talking about having less stuff, set boundaries with what comes into your house, create boundaries with grandparents, if you're having a birthday party and you're already feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to say no presents. So create boundaries. It's your house, it's your space. You have control over, what comes in and brings you joy in your house. And I think it's perfectly fine to have those boundaries. And then if you need extra help, hiring a professional organizer is always helpful if that's not in the budget. There are lots of free guides that people have online. I have tips on my Instagram. I also have a course on my website, and I will give you a promo code if anybody wants to access that for less. I'll hand that over to you as well after.
Awesome. I love that you mentioned that, just like being able to set those limits with gifts, because a lot of people do love to give actual things. So we've always done on our birthday invitations, no gifts, but if you do want to get our children something, we would
Mhm.
prefer gift cards or money, because that's going to go a lot farther.
Yes, I think that that's great. I think experiences are great. Kids are going to remember that trip to Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm or Legoland or whatever, or even just like taking them out to ice cream. All those things are more memorable. They're creating those memories. Remind grandparents of that. If you have a hard time giving a small child a gift card, think about like maybe a movie gift card. If they're old enough to go see a children's movie, then that's like a fun experience. You're not buying them things that way.
Yeah. And even making a list. Like I've made lists for the grandparents on if
Mhm.
these are things, memberships we want to eventually get. So you can
Yeah.
either help us by giving us a gift card that'll go towards that,
Mhm.
or yes, getting the membership.
Yes, and even with your wish list, that is really helpful. Like we have a grandparent who is adamant that he must give physical gifts. So I wait and I will tell him something that we were going to buy anyway. Like my almost 6-year-old needs a new bike. He's outgrown his bike. So it's like, you can get him that. And then we're practicing one in, one out in our house, right? Like we're going to get rid of the old bike and a new bike will come in. And then he still has that joy that he gets from giving a physical gift for his birthday.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes it doesn't even just have to be like a toy. Like I've added bath bombs. My son loves bath bombs.
Yeah.
So doing
Big
things
hit.
that, yeah, that you're going to end up buying anyway.
And they're consumable, so it's not adding a ton of clutter to your house to get a bath bomb. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on and sharing all of your tips.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for our next episode. You can find us on Instagram for more updates and tips. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts and give us a review if you like us.